Hey, what's happening, folks? We are ready to talk a little fantasy football for your all year-long fantasy football players, which, let's face it, if you're a DFS player, a sports bettor, or a fantasy player, you play year-long fantasy football, right? It's still the number one staple of all fantasy games.
It's the number one, no doubt about it. I mean, it's back because of how on Sundays.
Yeah, it appears to both the masses. You got the weekly thing, which allows pretty much anybody to play. Football's still the most popular sport in America. It's the one sport we still feel pretty comfortable is going to get a regular season this year, or at least close to it. So it's still the number one thing out there. I thought I would drop down the list today. We've talked a lot of mainstays right now. We haven't done the McCaffreys and the Barkleys, but I'm talking, Lamar Jackson. We did Jacobs yesterday, which is he's vaulting up people's lists and things like that. So I'm going to go way down today. I'm going to talk about one of my Green Bay Packer players, Alan Lazard. Get your thoughts and perspectives on a guy who's, you're not a Green Bay guy. What are your thoughts on him for this season? Is this a guy you guys should be targeting towards the later end of your drafts, depending on how deep they are and things like that? So let's get into this, dude.
Yeah, I'm excited to talk about this guy. These are the kind of guys I had in mind that, we could bring up, and I'm glad you kind of went deep in the barrel here to talk about a guy that I'm real interested to hear your thoughts on him as well.
All right, guys. Just because there's nothing up right now doesn't mean you should continue to pay attention to Overlay Fantasy Sports. This video, unlike our daily DFS videos, actually has about a 4-month shelf life, so people will actually watch it. We will get contests back on Overlay, so I thought I'd continue to give him a shout out as our show sponsor here to start these videos. That being said, let's get into Mr. Young Alan Lazard. Thought process on him and where we want to go. You guys know I'm a Packers fan. I like the kid. I like what he's offered so far. Subscribe to the station real quickly. If you haven't already, thumbs up is always appreciated. So, what's up with the Packers this year? Not far removed from the draft. Clearly, they're a team people are a little bit confused by right now. This is the second season of head coach LaFleur. Second season as Hackett as the offensive coordinator. He never gets talked about. I don't think 98% of football fans even know who the OC is of the Packers because LaFleur is the only guy that gets mentioned.
Yeah, I agree with that, and that's probably how they like it, how he wants it. As LaFleur, I'm still talking about.
Yeah, I actually had to go back and remember who it was. I had to look it up because I hadn't heard it in a few months. I'm like, damn, I can't even remember who our offensive coordinator is. That's how you know it's on the quiet.
Yeah, no doubt about that.
So this is going to be Lazard's third year. He played all of one snap his rookie season, so we won't even count that. And just kind of looking at what he did last year, he was a no-go the first 5 games of the year. Didn't see a single target. Didn't even touch the field the first 4 games. I think he ran 1 play in Week 5 against Dallas, and then started getting into the game against Detroit. We know that against Philadelphia, Devontae Adams got hurt, and Aaron Rodgers was the guy really calling for this young guy to get a little bit of a look. Very erratic season, up and down, which is not to be inspected for a guy who, wasn't a draft pick, wasn't getting a lot of pub through the team, but really caught the eye of, superstar quarterback Aaron Rodgers. And, he had a couple of decent games. He hit pay dirt 3 times, totaled close to 500 yards, went over 100 yards against the Giants, did that all on 3 catches because he had a long one in there. I like, for me, more than anything, when rubber meets the road at the end of the season, he saw 8 and 9 targets collectively the last 2 weeks.
Yeah, you gotta like that, man. For me, I don't think he's being talked about enough. Looking at ESPN's PPR rankings, specifically wide receivers, he's ranked 74th or 76th the 76th wide receiver ranked. That's, really, really high upside at that spot right there. You're talking about at the end of drafts. I love the targets you're mentioning. How could you not love that they really didn't do anything to add any other weapons? We've talked a bunch about how they drafted Love and they drafted A.J. Dillon. Maybe that would have been more acceptable if they had addressed the wide receiver and the skill position needs later on. They didn't do that. So you got to assume they're looking at Lazard to potentially emerge as that number 2 guy. I know they still have Valdez-Scantling. Jamarco Allison's gone, isn't he? Yeah, he's gone.
He's gone. They did grab Devin Funchess in free agency, who is a guy who has had a few flashes at the professional level, lost all of last season due to injury. Was never really playing with a quarterback who in Carolina, in Cam Newton, who was good at hitting receivers outside of the numbers. Definitely a guy who utilized the running back and the tight end position more. So I mean, there's reasons to believe he could be okay. There's also reasons to believe the dude could actually be cut because he hasn't proved anything at the NFL level. St. Brown comes back this year. He lost last year due to injury, but that's another guy. He could be all right. He could legitimately not even make the team.
Yeah, exactly. A lot of unknowns there. And I think Alan Lazard is a risk because I'm shocked if any of those guys or all those guys surpass him. But I also wouldn't be surprised at all if he's the clear number 2, opposite Davante Adams.
That's my expectation as of right now. Again, it is May. We don't have training camp. We're in the middle of quarantine. These teams haven't been together. My expectation, he's the number 2, but that could change a lot before the season starts.
No doubt about that.
So we kind of touched on a little bit of this already. What did the Packers gain or lose in the offseason? And it wasn't anything major. You touched on it. If you pay attention to this at all, we all know that they made no move in the draft to add a wide receiver in one of the deepest wide receiver classes of all time. Makes no sense to anybody with a sizable football IQ. Very confusing to most people. What they did add is they drafted a running back in round 2 named A.J. Dillon, who's built more in the Derrick Henry mode. I'm not calling him Derrick Henry. I'm just saying he's a bigger guy who can eat a lot of carries. They want to move to a very run-heavy type of offense, a la San Francisco and a couple of the other teams out there that have moved to a more of a running team. They cut ties with Geronimo Allison, as you mentioned, and Jimmy Graham is gone. They lost Brian Bulaga, added Wagner as the right tackle, but all in all, no major plays.
Yeah, that kind of seems to be a trend throughout. Like a lot of these really good skill positions, like they don't change teams all that often. I mean, a couple of teams got really big moves, but a lot of these moves are lateral. I mean, I don't know. They definitely didn't gain anything. I mean, losing Geronimo Allison and Jimmy Graham isn't really much either. So
that moves the needle not at all to me, right?
Yeah, so it's basically nothing. Especially for the wide receiver group.
The only thing I'd say, the loss of Geronimo Allison might be a good thing because that dude dropped or fumbled almost every ball that was thrown his way last year, so that can't be bad. And Jimmy Graham, I can't believe anybody even signed him. Well, again, I can. He's a big name, but my God, he's just a shell of what he was 7 years ago.
No doubt about that.
Can't beat anybody off the line. He's got a bad case of the drop season. One of the reasons he probably drops the ball a lot is because he's never wide open because he can't get away from anybody.
Yeah, this is true.
The biggest thing of all these moves, though, for me is the drafting of A.J. Dillon. They really seem like they want to run the ball.
Yeah, he's a guy, like you said, in the Derrick Henry mold, just in the sense that he'll wear down a defense.
So what I think, and we've talked about a couple of these guys, like Odell, another team in Cleveland. Clearly, Odell and Alan Lazard are not the same thing, but same thing with DK Metcalf. These are guys that might actually function better in a non-PPR type of format. Davante Adams is going to eat up the reception totally in Green Bay, but you could definitely see Lazard hitting the occasional big play. He's a big dude at 6'5", over 220 pounds. Looks almost more like a tight end out there. Can hit you on a couple of deep plays with that sizable body of his. So he's a guy that could also, with another offseason, maybe kind of to prepare, but maybe moving into that wide receiver 2 role with a little bit more gusto this year, knowing that he played last year. Could also be more of a red zone target with all that size.
I was going to say that. He can become more of just a target hog in general because of the size and the trust he has with Aaron Rodgers. I love the 17 targets he saw the last 2 weeks.
He's a big dude, and Aaron hasn't had the ability to throw to a lot of those guys. Like Jordy Nelson was one of his bigger guys he was able to throw to. And Jordy Nelson's not that big of a guy either. We're not talking Megatron type of size or anything like that.
And Alan Lazard was the guy, he was really productive in college, and that doesn't mean a lot, but I like seeing, it's better. It's better than him not being really productive in college. Most guys in the NFL were, though.
No doubt about it. There aren't a lot of guys that play in the NFL that didn't do much in college. Matt Castle might be the exception, right?
Yeah, true.
All right. So, I saw him in a couple places ranked around the 66 wide receiver. Whether you're 50th or 75th, right? I don't know if it makes that big of a difference if you believe in somebody. We're talking 160th to 190th overall. So in your average 10-team league, he's not even a guy that's going to probably be brought up automatically if like you were on auto draft, right? Which means that you can likely get this dude with the second to last pick in the draft. Might be a little bit different for me being a Wisconsin guy, and for anybody who drafts, more Wisconsin heavy type of leagues. Yeah, guys might know about him a little bit more, but I think in your average league, if you like him, you can get him in the last pick of the draft.
Yeah, agreed. Because there's, if you look at the wide receivers around him, like there's other guys that have upside too. So you're right. It might be different for you in like a Wisconsin league because people want a piece of the Packers and they know about him. But I don't think he's going to stand out in most leagues. So I'm with you. You can really get this guy in the second to last or last round.
So I kind of mentioned I've been listening to more fantasy football videos the last couple of days just as get away from politics and music and stuff like that and just get back into sports a little bit more. And one of the guys I was listening to did a very good job of laying out points that I bring up all the time, but I thought he just did a better job of talking about it. And that is the first 3, 4, 5 rounds of your draft, you really want to hit home with safety. Guys you can trust, guys are, running backs are going to get a lot of carries and stuff like that. But as the draft progresses, you want to look for upside. And I see Lazard as a guy that has potential upside. At the end of the season, if he has 900 yards and 9 touchdowns, that wouldn't flabbergast me. And that would be an acceptable flex type of play. A matchup type of guy you could run out there to wide receiver 2 in the right spot, or if you have to deal with injuries. Again, you can't teach size. He's 6'5", over 220 pounds. Those are the types of guys that can become good red zone targets.
Exactly. He should become a good red zone target. I'm with you 100%.
And another reason that you might like that is Green Bay. Aaron Rodgers did not throw a plethora of touchdown passes last year, and Aaron Jones was a real touchdown hog. It doesn't always work out that way. Like, I would bet every dollar to my name that there is no way Aaron Jones sniffs the touchdown total that he had last year. And to take that a step farther, I don't think Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon sniffed the touchdown total that Aaron Jones and Jamal Williams combined for last season, because it's just not going to work out where every 5-yard run from the 5-yard line ends in the end zone, right? Like, there's going to be times where that play gets stuffed and they got to throw it on 2nd and 5 instead.
I mean, it's not for certain, but probably.
I mean, you'd bet on it, right?
Yeah, but also the fact that it happened this year doesn't mean it's any less likely to happen this year. It's going to happen this year.
Okay, just because it happened last year doesn't make it less likely to happen this year. But if we had to go back and replay last season, it probably would be unlikely to replicate because it's just hard for that to happen. You know what I mean? Unless you're LaDainian Tomlinson, who was the focal point of the offense, the entire way up and down the field, it is hard to score that many touchdowns. There are very few seasons in fantasy history, and we're talking the elite guys, Marshall Faulk, LaDainian Tomlinson, Adrian Peterson, where dudes are scoring. Yeah, and that happened, 1 year?
Yeah.
Just hard. Priest Holmes for a year or two.
Mm-hmm. It is hard, no doubt about it.
Yeah, it's especially weird because Aaron Jones is a little guy. That's even more unlikely. So even with A.J. Dillon, it's just sometimes they're going to get stuffed, and you'd think Aaron might have to throw it a couple times more in the red zone this year. And, Adams will be his number 1, but Lazard's a big dude.
No doubt about that. Who is the Packers tight end with no Jimmy Graham?
We have Mercedes Lewis as a run-blocking tight end. And then I can't even think of his name, but they drafted the kid in, I think, the 3rd round that I would assume would have to be more of the pass-catching tight end, because I believe we no longer have Robert Tonyan, who was like tight end 3 last year that some people were excited about, which means no Jimmy Graham, no him. Mercedes Lewis is a good run-blocking tight end, but leaves a lot to be desired in the passing game. So I'm assuming they'll be rolling with the rookie.
I'm seeing this other guy, Jay Sternberger.
Yeah. What years?
I don't know.
I thought he was. Is that the guy that they drafted? Was he a rookie?
I'm not sure. I'm not positive. Maybe it is.
I think the reason I didn't look into it a lot is because I look at the tight end position as something that we're obviously not focused on.
For sure.
And Aaron Rodgers has never had great connections with the tight end, with the exception of a couple of games there with Jared Cook. And part of that is because they've never really given him a good tight end post Michael Finley.
Yeah. Man, I could definitely see like Green Bay taking a step back this year. Just looking at their roster. Sure. It's really that talented. Like, it's really they still have, I think, a good defense. They played really well last year. But I don't know, man. Like, you have Aaron Rodgers, the ultimate equalizer, but every year he gets older, like, I don't think this team is that talented around him.
No, I like the defense, and I could actually see the defense being better, especially if your boy Christian Kirksey can play up to the level and actually stay healthy. Because I think he's a slight bump up from Blake Martinez if everything goes accordingly. Another year to work together in the system. You got the Smith brothers coming off the corners. I could see the defense being a little bit better. Another year of Jair Alexander being better. They got good, solid safeties. You could get Savage could be a little bit better, but how effective are they running the football? If they run the ball effectively, they could be good. But that's no guarantee. I mean, A.J. Dillon's a rookie for a reason.
Yeah, it's definitely like a run defensive team.
I do think, and we'll make a video on him, that the way that they want to play this, and I think everybody assumes Aaron Jones is the starting running back week one, and probably will be, but I think A.J. Dillon is a guy that could be a sleeper, and he's a guy that I don't feel a lot of people are paying attention to because they expect Aaron Jones to be the guy.
I agree. I mean, Aaron Jones is still like knocked going in the top 15 usually.
Yeah, I wouldn't touch Aaron Jones, period, this year because he wasn't LaFleur's guy. And we talked about this with the way the draft broke out. It seems like LaFleur and Gutekunst are trying to make this team in their eyes right now. And that for some reason, because it wasn't their guys, they're just not feeling Aaron Jones and Aaron Rodgers.
True. I will say A.J. Dillon will have to take his job, though, in my opinion.
Yeah, oh yeah, no questions. But, a point that you made on a different video, and I forget who we were talking about, is if you spend a second-round pick on a running back, you're pretty serious about this guy.
For sure. No doubt about that.
So we'll see. Maybe more of a thunder and lightning type scenario, but it'll be an interesting team to watch this year. There aren't a lot of guys on this offense that I would be focused on drafting. I have very little interest in Aaron Rodgers. Devontae Adams is appropriately ranked. We all know what Devontae Adams has to offer. And even though they're not going to pass it as much, you know where Aaron Rodgers is looking. Lazard's a guy I think could offer value, but we're talking last pick in the draft type of value.
Yeah, agree. Like, I mean, if you can reach and take him in like the third to last round, because at that point it doesn't really matter, but somewhere around there.
Yeah, or for us who do a lot of auctions, you pay $1 or $2 for him at the end. If you have a couple bucks left, maybe you pay $2 or $3 for him. But really, this is a guy you can look to get for $1, and just hope it works out. Again, low risk, high reward.
No doubt about it.
All right, guys. Thank you very much. Don't forget to click that thumbs up button, subscribe if you're new to the station, and we will continue to see you sporadically throughout the next couple of months talking fantasy football.
Thanks, guys.